Good morning, Prackies. I am going live. Hopefully, every time I do this, I kind of wonder whether I'm live or not. Anyway, here we are. Here we are. Okay, so I am in the process of writing some content for the upcoming webinars. You'll be able to see the link if you are wanting to join. The first one that's coming up on the 1st of June, I think it is. You'll be able to see all the details in the link, is a very poignant, timely topic, and it is the physical examinations for your cold and flu season. So it is upon us. It is unavoidable, even in the lovely subtropical area that I'm in. I'm sitting here because it's relatively warm in my clinic space today, but the temperature's definitely dropping. So what I wanted to talk to you today is about the cough and some of the insights that I have been that I will be sharing in the webinar, but I thought I'd just kick things off now. Okay, so when we're thinking about the cough, we're going to be asking lots of questions. They're all the usual suspects, like how long have you had the cough, and severity, is it getting better or worse, is what makes it better or worse, and then we're going to be sort of thinking about whether it's productive or non-productive as well. So we can, our job isn't to diagnose, no, but it can be really useful to be getting some extra information that can give us an idea about severity and chronicity of a cough. And it can also kind of give us some more information about where the potential virus or bacteria is affecting. So, when we're talking about the anatomy of the respiratory system, sort of from the mouth to the lungs, right? So when we're talking about affected areas, when we're talking about the nose and the throat, a presentation that you could possibly see there is chronic or acute, but is the chronic throat clearing. So, that's when we see things, that's when we see the postnasal drip, where it's obviously present in acid reflux. Also remembering that that throat clearing, so that extra phlegm, that extra sort of mucus can be there in food intolerances as well. So moving to the throat, so this is the area that we mostly think of when we think of a cough. So we're talking about, we could have a barking cough, we could have a wheeze, we could have, which is more of a bronchi, so we'll get to that in a second. But it can be painful, it can be, especially on the tail end of an acute infection, it can be itchy. It feels like people want to get in there and give it a bit of a scratch. And that's when we think of things like laryngitis, we think of a throat infection. We can also, remembering that if we're seeing someone face to face, we can get in there and have a look to see if we can sort of see any swelling, we can see any redness, any pus. We're also thinking about whooping cough, so pertussis, and also croup in children. So that's some of the things that we can be thinking about with the throat. With the bronchi, so here we are, a most common one of this is asthma. So this can kind of come and go. Sometimes it can be productive, but as we know with asthma, it's a wheeze. So that's what we're looking for there. With COPD, we are thinking, we know in general it's worse in the morning. People find that they kind of get better throughout the day. It can be worse at night too, but mostly in the morning. There is a frequent cough, and there's also a wheeze as well. There will be excess phlegm generally and a shortness of breath. So we really do need to find out if our people are smokers, and really importantly, not just do you smoke now, but have you got a history of smoking? Because, if you're seeing your 60-year-old that gave up smoking even 10 years ago, they're very quick to tell you that they're not a smoker, even if they may have had actually a 40 or even yeah, about a 40-year kind of history of smoking. The other interesting one is environmental toxins and the impact on it has on COPD, and a really prevalent thing and relevant for what's going on at the moment is mold exposure, and uh, it is linked to COPD. So pneumonia is another one that we may see, and that affects the lung alveoli, or any sort of part of the lung that is involved in gas exchange. So usually what happens is it's dry, but then it can become productive. They really do remember it's fluid or pus if it's a bacterial infection, and also depending on the severity of it, it can be white, it can be clear pus, it can be right up to thick yellow and green pus. So they will present with a difficulty of breathing, rapid and shallow, and that's because it's super painful. So to take a really deep breath in, you're activating, and you're sort of where that bacteria and that infection is sitting. It can be very painful. So they will only sort of take rapid, shallow breaths. And there will be signs of uh, infection, because it's an infection. So we can expect to see fever and sweats and chills, and a general feeling of unwell and a lack of appetite. So I'll link the article that I was reading to this below. And but interestingly, there is a tendency to watch and wait now. If there was a suspected pneumonia, antibiotics were started as a course of treatment with GPs, and now they're sort of watching and waiting. And if they can discover that there's a few things they will notice. So they'll watch and wait. That's not to say they don't have pneumonia. That's not to say it won't develop into pneumonia, but they will just watch and wait to avoid antibiotic overuse, which is a really nice thing for us. So when they are suspecting pneumonia, GPs are suspecting pneumonia, but they're going to watch and wait. That's when there's still a really low CRP with a blood test. So meaning that it's acute inflammation hasn't risen yet. There is no fever, and there is no shortness of breath. So they're sort of the things that they will watch and wait to see if will develop. So that's interesting to know for us. The other thing that is really, really important to talk about, and this will become quite a significant part, or if it's not already, it should be, of your questioning, and that is side effects from medications. So a cough is, particularly a non-productive cough, is a really common side effect of a lot of medications. And in particular, your ACE inhibitors, people that are on those will have a chronic kind of dry cough. Now, it might not like seem like a big deal, but a lot of people are on these medications for a really long time, and that can really impact quality of life. So that's something to look out for as well. Another thing is methotrexate. That's another medication that will sort of induce a dry, sort of non-productive cough as well. About the statistics are about 9% of statin users are experiencing a non-productive cough as a side effect from their medication. And also the Keppra anti-seizure medication is another one that has quite a high rate of cough side effect. So these are really, really important, because as with all side effects of medications, you are not You can be treating a cough, but it's sort of as if it's a side effect of a medication, you can feel like you're going one step forward, two steps back with a lot of things. So with obviously, it's not about taking them off their medications, but it's about being able to manage that. Yes, rather than eliminate the cough. Um, okay, so I hope that's been helpful. I did do a table up for this. If you are interested, I'm happy to share it with you. If you have any questions about this or the upcoming webinars, in the webinars we are going to be running through obviously the physical examinations that are really important during cold and flu season, but also we're going to be talking a lot about anatomy and physiology and the pathophysiology of different kind of presentations, and how you can be helpful in those. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know, and have a great day.